Welcome to the Independent Brokers Podcast. Your host, Joseph Gozlan, interviews independent real estate brokers from around the country, asking about all the things we all want to know: recruiting, commission breakdowns, lead generation, technology tools, and more. And now to the show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Independent Broker Podcast. Today we have Tracy with us. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you.
As usual, we let our guests introduce themselves. Tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got started in real estate, and then smash cut to today, how many agents you have in your brokerage, and how do you guys operate?
I'll try to make it short. My then husband and I and the kids moved here from New Jersey 10 years ago. And I have a degree in art, and that's all I did when we were living in Jersey. I had my art business. And when we moved here, we got divorced, and I needed to find something to do that I could get a license or train very quickly to do. I've always renovated houses, and I thought this could be something that I could really be interested in. So I got my real estate license 2013. And as soon as I could get my broker's license, which was 24 months under another broker, I went ahead and did that. And I opened up my brokerage a year after that. I currently have 4 agents that work for me. I have a rotating number of agents that are in my referral division. So they just refer business and they remain voluntarily inactive. And that's about it. My mother works for me. She's one of my agents.
Interesting. We'll touch that one a little bit later. So let's start with where he's here. I believe you're in Florida, right?
Yes, we're on the Gulf side of Gulf Coast of Florida.
Awesome. So that explained the referral division thing. That's a Florida thing. Can you explain because we have our audience from all over the country. Can you explain really quick what is the referral division?
Yeah, so they don't have to be a part of NAR and FAR. And all they have to do is keep up with their licensing requirements. So their CEs, their post-license requirements, and then they can be in referral status. And basically all they do is they take someone's name and contact information, they give it to me, and then they can collect commission when we close.
So basically, as a broker, you can have non-realtor agents under you as long as they're not active other than just doing referrals.
Yeah, they're licensed, but no, they're agents, they're salespeople, they're not realtors. And yeah, so they're under me and it's under a separate division. Not every brokerage offers that setup. And honestly, it's not really lucrative. I know a lot of other brokers. I went to a conference for a couple of independent brokers. They all got together in Orlando, and a lot of them wanted to know, how is it set up? And how does this work? And how does that work? And I'm like, thinking to myself, like, it's not, I don't make any money doing that. It's really just on the off chance that they do come across a deal. But I've had people in that referral division for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years and haven't gotten anything from them.
Got it. So it's just a way to keep the license active without paying the NAR and the other realtor association fees. Okay. Yes. It's interesting that you guys have it down there because here in Texas, we don't have something like this. If we have an agent under our license, then our local realtor association is going to hunt us down until they're part of the board or else. Okay. So you have 4 agents. We're going to put aside the referral division going forward. So you have 4 agents that are active underneath you. Are you operating as independent agents, or you're operating as a team model where you have a team lead and buyer's agent, stuff like that?
I think it's with some of my agents, it's like a hybrid. So my mother there's certain things that she doesn't feel comfortable doing. She doesn't like to do them. So her and I team up for all of her deals. I have one agent who basically doesn't need any guidance at all. Every once in a while, she has an unusual situation, but for the most part, she's hands off. It's more everybody's independent, except probably just for my mother and I.
Okay, and that makes sense. And I'm sure there's a lot of challenges that come with working with mom, right?
Yes.
I can imagine if I had to work with mine, right? How does the commission structure look like for your agents?
So I just came up with a new commission structure. I did have a 50-50 for all brand new agents, where I was going to take care of the majority of their paperwork. I was going to train them. I don't have anybody in-house to do trainings because I'm not a large brokerage. Any of the newbies would come in at 50-50. And then typically 3 transactions, and then you would move to an 80-20. But I was finding that this model wasn't really working, and I had to go back and think about the different situations, because the biggest thing for me is my time, because I'm still producing. And I do a great business, and I do all of it off of word of mouth and referrals. So I've been toying around with a couple of different things. 2 years ago, I signed on to Sync, which used to be Commissions Inc., and set everything up through them. So they created my website. I've got the ads that they run for me, and I've got the dialer system with it. And really, I got set up with that as a way to recruit, because I was thinking that most agents starting out in the business, I was finding that most agents are not the type of personalities, I don't know why, that to make cold calls. I don't know what baffles me. I've worked with so many new agents, and I have gotten to the point that I don't think I ever want to again, because they just have this mindset. The last one I had fired probably about 6 or 8 months ago, he just wouldn't do what I told him to do. And I don't understand it. So I got the Sync system thinking that there are already people that have clicked on an ad, and these would be easier to call. For whatever reason, I had 2 agents that I ended up firing, another agent that I fired a year after that, but they just weren't using the system for what it needed to be used for. You have to do the follow-up. It's not just about making the phone calls. You can't make the phone call, contact somebody, and then think that 6 months later, when they're ready to buy, they're going to come back and call you. So it's that teaching newer agents how to nurture the leads was really frustrating. So then I went back. Oh, and my commission split on anything that was a lead out of Sync was 60-40. When I asked around to all my other independent brokers, they said any brokerage provided lead they had set up at 50-50. So I figured I was doing something better, putting them on 60-40.
Okay.
And I explained to all of them, all your personal deals are 80-20. So I get it. If you are too busy with your personal deals to make the phone calls, then just be honest with me and I can shut those leads off. And then when I reevaluated recently, I am taking just a whole different approach. I'm not recruiting with Sync. I just hired an ISA. I'm going to keep Sync for myself and have the ISA make the phone calls and take the information, make those initial contacts, and then restructure the commission for everyone else. So basically, if there's no hand holding, I'm going to a 90-10, and I don't have any other fees except a yearly fee of $150 for E&O.
Okay. And do you have any caps on that, or it's 90-10 with no caps?
90-10. Right now it's 90-10 with no caps. If somebody came to me and said, I want a cap on it, it would probably be 20,000.
Okay. Understood. So you answered a lot of the questions we usually ask. Are you still in production? And you said yes. And what is your commission structure? So let's talk about the Sync, for example. You're not the first broker we talked to that is using this system. What is and again, if you're not comfortable sharing, just say so. It's okay. What are you currently spending with them? What volume of leads are you getting for that spend? And what is your conversion rate from that system?
So I really don't think that you could take my numbers and make them and really hone in on what my ROI is, because I had one agent that was making those calls consistently. And within 3 months, she had 2 closings just from sync. But then her and I had issues and I had to fire her and she left. So that was the person that was making the phone. So then I had gotten 3 more people that joined my brokerage. It's just a bunch of, Tracy, I was making the phone calls. I said, Alicia, you were not making the phone calls. I can see every morning I get a report that says you're not making the phone calls. So I had just the other situations that were going on just didn't make it a good situation for me to look back at the numbers and say, this is working or this is not working. I had so many other distractions in my business so my boyfriend and I talked about it extensively. And I said, you know what? I think I was just saying, like 10 minutes before getting on the call, some people say I have control issues. I don't think I do, but nobody makes the phone calls like I make the phone calls. And I sit with these agents and I'm like, even the ones that are not brand new, but they've come over from another brokerage, they've never made these phone calls before. And it's like they completely freeze up. And I actually enjoy making the phone calls because everybody that I've talked to, that I've made contact with over the last 2.5 years, we've had great conversations.
Yeah.
And also too, because I had sync over the last 2.5 years, you have to put COVID into that.
Okay.
So those numbers are going to be wacky too, because I had probably, I don't know, 30 Canadians who there was probably at least 10 of them that were ready to buy right before COVID. And that just messed everything up too.
I see. Okay. Obviously, you love that system, right? Because you're sticking with it for a few years now, and it does generate leads. So, can we at least have an idea about that numbers? If I spend $1,000, I get 100 leads, or I get 20 leads. Everybody's follow up is going to be different. We understand that.
Yeah. So I'm spending, I think I'm around 1,500 a month that I'm spending on that. The reason I decided to go with this system is I firmly believe in, and how I've built my own personal business was that it's relational and not transactional. And so I've never wanted to buy Zillow leads or realtor. I just am not comfortable with that. I like building relationships with people, and my repeat business is huge for that reason. So that was the draw for me with sync. Now, it's unlike Zillow and realtor. You have to nurture them, and it takes a while for that to get up going. But with me, I didn't need those leads. It was just going to be nice to have them. And then I just found out that I didn't have the time to put into it. But I do have, when I do make the time, I have great connections. And I have people I probably have 15 people right now. The problem here in Florida is that usually the leads that are coming in are people looking for investment properties and second homes. So they're not looking to purchase with a deadline. Our house is under contract and we need to find something and be under contract and close in the next 45 days.
Gotcha.
Typically. So I would say like probably 10% of what comes into sync is that situation, but the majority is vacation homes and investment properties.
So it's fair to say that syncs generate mostly buyer leads, not seller listings leads.
Yeah. And so when I first, probably for the first 1.5 years, it was all buyer leads. And then my account rep checked in with me one time and he said, do you want to try the seller leads? I said, sure, why not? So that's a little bit more money. I bumped up my budget for that. And now I get the seller leads. But again, I can't tell you what the numbers are because I've just been so busy with my other business. I haven't even been able to nurture those leads.
Gotcha. So they have a separate offering for sellers compared to buyers.
Yes.
Okay. It sounds like you've been recruiting and firing in the last year or two. So let's split that conversation into two pieces, right? Let's start with the recruiting side of things. What do you do? What kind of activities do you do in order to recruit?
Right now, I'm not doing anything, but again, to me, it's just like my clients and my customers. Like, I want to nurture the relationship first, because that's going to bring, I don't want that revolving door. I put so much into every agent that works for me. I just can't, it just would be a complete time suck if I put all of this energy and effort and time into an agent and then they left me because they weren't happy with just the relationship that we have. So that is part of the last two agents that joined me. We were deals on each other's sides. So that right now is my focus. I am doing handwritten letters to agents that I've done deals with, that I really like their style. I really like their personalities. So that's just been in the last 2 weeks. I decided I'm going to do that.
I gotcha. Okay. And then what's the goal? 5 agents, 10 agents, 50 agents?
If I have one agent that works for me, her name is Shauna, and she's just excellent. And she's an independent worker, but she wants to know. When she came to me, she's worked for EXP, and one of the things she didn't like is that she couldn't have a conversation with someone when she had an issue that came up. And she's like, I just don't have time, and I have no interest to put my little avatar in line to wait to ask a question. Her and I talked for close to a year before she left her brokerage and came on with me. So she wants, basically, she's hands off, but she loves the fact that she can call if it's 9 o'clock, and she has common sense. So if it's 9 o'clock at night and I see her calling me, I know she needs me for something. But for the majority of her business, she's hands off. If I could get every one of my agents to be like Shauna, I would love to have 50 agents. The problem is they're not all going to be that way.
Yeah.
So
There's a bell curve everywhere.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I would like to do 10 more in the next 6 or 8 months.
Okay. And handwritten letters is the strategy to get those.
Yes.
So how does training and retaining look? And that's going to lead us to the firing conversation in a second. So what do you do for training? What do you do for retention? Do you do anything for retention?
So the training is I've had some agents that come over and they're using different systems from other brokerages. So they have to learn Authenticign and Transaction Desk. And for that, there's not, from the actual company, Lone Wolf, there's not really good training videos. So I have made a couple of training videos. I share the Google Drive with the new, so they're responsible for training themselves on that. But pretty much Sync has awesome customer support. They have great training videos. So they're just responsible for getting on there and doing those trainings themselves.
Gotcha. Okay. And then anything for retention? Do you do
No.
any company events, any lunches, dinners, happy hour?
I don't as a whole, as a brokerage, but like I said, I just have a personal relationship with all of the agents. So we do lunches separately. We do happy hours separately. They know that I'm here for anything. We're friends.
Yeah, I understand. So now let's talk about firing. Like, how many agents have you fired in the last, let's say, 12 months?
1, 2, 3. 3.
Okay. And what led to that firing? Which, by the way, I'm a big fan of. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And you just got to be honest with them. Tell them, look, you might be better off somewhere else. So what led to you firing that agent? How did that go about?
I had one agent last year that she just wanted to continually talk about her commission split. and she wasn't doing hardly any business. And just kept telling her, like, if we get to a point that it makes sense to do a different commission split, but what she wanted to talk about continuously is the split for the sync leads.
Mhm.
And she knew she was on an 80-20. So why I think it all comes down to the firing really came down to two things, which was they were more concerned with the money in their pocket than the value that I was going to give them. And like you said, if it's not a good match, it's not a good match. I just happened to be the one that had to make the decision.
Mhm.
Like, I'm the one that asked for the divorce. And then the second thing is disrespect. I don't tolerate disrespect for myself, for my brokerage, or for any other agents in my brokerage. And that was the last one that I had fired.
Gotcha. Yeah, a lot of people are focusing on getting as much as they can out of the grape instead of realizing they can have a watermelon.
Yes.
And it's just so sad. Do you want 90% of a grape, or do you want 50% of a watermelon? What do you want?
And that's what I want to do. I want to take agents that are doing 5 million and get them to do 10 million. Ultimately, that's what I would love to do, is to step back more from production and just train and manage. I have, like, one of my things is that I'm super creative. I have an art degree and I'm super creative. So I can take a deal that's dying and I can resuscitate it. I do it all the time. And I think of out of the box solutions for keeping a deal going or getting a deal. So that's where really I want to focus when it comes to agents and helping them grow their business. So ultimately, that's where I see me stepping back more in production, but getting agents excited that it's not just a transaction. Like, it's just so much more than that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes to, we get people into the business after they've seen a documentary or a TV show like HGTV or Selling Sunset, or one of those scripted reality shows, because nothing there is real. And they think that the real world works like this, and no, it doesn't. And that's where you get the frustration, and we do too, of agents that refuse to pick up the phone and refuse to make the phone calls and don't do the nurturing. And if it's not a hot enough lead that I can close in the next 30 days, then I don't want to put the effort into it. God knows where I'm going to be 6 months from now. If you'll have this attitude 6 months from now, you will definitely not be part of this business.
Yeah. And that's what I think is the toughest thing, because when I started, I missed the kids' baseball games, soccer games, the spelling bees at school. I didn't get to be on the PTO because I was doing all this shit. And it really aggravates me that an agent will join my brokerage and then expect me to still be doing all the work, but pay them. And that aggravates me, that mindset is there.
Yeah.
That it's just so short-sighted. And really, I don't want to be around anybody with that energy. It's just not good energy.
Yeah. And again, part of the appeal in our business is the fact that you can set your own schedule, you can work things around, and you can be your own boss. But at the same time, you can't be a business owner and not work hard.
Yeah.
Like, that just doesn't exist. Any business, any small business, and you can talk to any business owner in the country, the first 2-3 years are going to be hard, very hard. They're going to require a lot of hours, they're going to require a lot of effort. And if not, you're not willing to do that work and put that time and have the sacrifice, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. And the one thing that I'll tell, newer agents is that if you opened a pizza shop tomorrow, would you have the money to hire staff right away? Unless you've saved up money for years and years and set that aside for that. But most people getting into real estate, for some reason, they just think they're getting into real estate and in 30 days, they're going to be cashing those big fat checks. And it just doesn't work. And without the effort, like, and I had one agent, she ended up leaving over the last couple of months to take a training job at another brokerage. With her, I sat her down and I said, you don't want to make the phone calls in sync? Tell me what you enjoy doing, and I'll figure out something that works that's going to make you feel comfortable, because all I want is for you to be successful. And I said, figure out what works for you. And the thing that she enjoyed doing was converting FSBOs, which is mind blowing. You don't want to call a lead that's already like a warm lead, but you'll call a FSBO. And she was really good at it. It just wasn't consistent. It just wasn't there. And she wasn't making any money, and she got discouraged and ended up taking the job that was going to pay her a salary.
Yeah. And that's what happens to 87% of the agents in the business. That's part of it. And yeah, no, there's a million ways to generate leads. There's a million ways to generate transactions in our business. You just got to pick one. And like you said, be consistent about it. Yeah. It can be door knocking, it can be Facebook, it can be expired, it can be a lot of different things. But again, you got to put the effort and you got to be consistent about it. And that's part of the challenge of all of us as brokers have, to get the agents to understand that, accept that, and actually execute that.
Yeah.
Speaking of leads and marketing, you mentioned you're using Sync. What else do you guys do for lead generation as a brokerage?
Again, we're a little non-traditional. I've done postcards and mailers and all of that. Nothing. It's almost like that's the secondary part of the marketing. So if I do door knock and people know me and then they get the postcard later, it's just a reiterating that I'm the person that they should call. But I honestly, I get probably the majority of my leads I get from open houses.
So open houses is your thing. And yeah. Do you do any marketing that is not for lead generation? So I'll give you an example. So we'll sometimes do Facebook ads or Google ads just for brand recognition. So we'll put our logo out there, we'll put our name out there. Because again, one of the challenges with small brokerages is when you call and say, hey, I'm from Eureka Business Group or whatever it is, they're going to go with who? Versus I'm with Kel Williams or Remax. And you say the big names, people know the names. It means nothing, because we just saw last year there was a NAR report that like 80% of sellers don't remember who the broker company was.
Yes.
But regardless of that, at least it's a name recognition in the initial conversation. So we try to do a little bit on the brokerage level where we just get the logo out there. So when our agents say the name or hand over a business card, they go, oh yeah, I know who you are. I've seen your name. Do you guys do anything, any activity that kind of generates brand recognition?
No, and I figured once I did get to a certain number of agents, I would follow through with something like that. I had a couple of conversations with AdWorks, and I don't know if you know how that works, where they'll run the Facebook ads, and then I also supply them with email addresses. And from the email addresses, they can track people they're searching. So if every morning they go to the Wall Street Journal and then they throw the ads, somehow
it's retargeting. Yeah.
Yeah, but it links through their email. It doesn't actually send them an email, but it somehow links through the email to target them on whatever sites they set up. And they do, I think they do commercials and they do other things, but they're centered around only branding.
Yeah, it's the retargeting campaigns where you go on Amazon and you look for a shoe and then all of a sudden see that shoe everywhere, no matter where you serve.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk technology stack. What kind of tools do you guys use for CRM, transaction coordination, and else, that communications inside the team? What do you guys use in your broker?
We use Transaction Desk and Authentisign, and they work together and they're both tied to the MLS. I had a thought. No, the CRM's separate. Oh, so within Transaction Desk, it's set up that I can review all of the transactions. So if I have somebody that's just learning to do the contracts on their own, I can go in and review it and approve it or reject it. So we're just starting to use that. It's It's a little wonky though. I hear that there's a lot better programs out there for that. So the conference that I went to back about a year ago in Orlando with the other independent brokers, it seems that Sierra is what those brokers like better than Sync. I can't speak to that because I've never used it, but that apparently it gives you more options. Our CRM is in Sync. So website dialer, CRM, I actually have they have an AI option that texts people within there, and that actually does a pretty good job at starting conversations with people. Yeah, so I think everything pretty much is, a lot of our stuff is through Sync.
Yeah, there's a lot of AI tools coming out recently that are really cool to use and leverage. Have you guys used anything like ChatGPT or Jasper or any one of those?
No.
Okay, you should definitely check ChatGPT out. I keep saying it's somewhere between magic and voodoo. It's really cool. It's definitely helping with SEO. It helps with if you have an agent that is a little bit worried about how to put verbiage together for a Facebook post or a blog post or anything else. You can go in and the system, the AI, will generate the text for you, and you can tweak it a little bit. But it's really cool and very helpful. What is, in your opinion, the hardest thing about being an independent
I
broker?
had somebody ask me about 2 years ago, what are the costs? What are the responsibilities? And is it worth it to go out on your own? And I told him, I said, if you're just doing it just you, then the toughest part is you don't have anybody to call to ask a question. You are that person.
Yeah.
So that's the toughest part. Now, when you add agents to it, I think that's that's where you get into everything costs money. Everything costs money. It's nickel and dime you to death between the lead generation, the email system, whatever. It's just, you get nickel and dime. But my biggest frustration is people that just don't want, that get into this. I wish that say the real estate course, I wish that they got into more real life scenarios. You're going to have to call people. You're going to have uncomfortable conversations and be an adult, and you're owning your own business. Like, I really wish that there was more preparation for agents that got into the business, because which I don't think that's ever going to change, because they get to collect the money for every person who gets a real estate license. But I just think it's just really crappy, because and the other thing too is, like, brand new agents, they have no idea that every brokerage works differently. So you can't go to one and it's not apples to apples. You could go to 5 different brokerages and their setup is 5 different ways. Yeah. And they don't know enough about the business to even ask the right questions to be able to compare what they really need.
Yeah, I literally heard a young agent tell me adulting is hard. So I understand what you're saying. And
adulting and real estating is harder.
The reality of our business is that the barrier to entry is very low. You got to be 18 and you got to have about $350 for an online class and pass the test. It's so easy to get into the business, and it's carefully going to use the word glamorous on TV. And the reality is so different than what TV shows, that it's the only other industry I can think of is Hollywood, right? It looks so easy to be a huge movie star, a big singer, performing artist. And then when you get to the real world and you try to work your way out from singing in the shower to becoming a huge star, it's not that easy. That's just the reality. And nobody, you're right, nobody tells them, nobody prepares them. And for me, when we do recruiting interviews, I literally tell them the truth and I try to scare them away, because if they can't handle the truth conversation of 30 minutes with me telling them how it's going to look like and what's the reality, then they're not going to cut it. So why waste my working with somebody that's not going to cut it? So my recruiting conversations are not all fluffy. Hey, sugarcoating, come on over. It's going to be great.
It sounds like that you're the same mindset that I am. I don't want just bodies. That's the reason why I opened my brokerage is I want to change people's lives. I want to help them succeed. And if I'm the one putting in 100% and you're going to put in 0, I don't want your body taking up the space. Because here's the thing, my boyfriend reminds me all the time, they're taking the space up here for you. And I said, you're right, because my personality is I want to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And not only that, it takes time that you could spend on someone that it really does want to succeed and really have what it takes to succeed. So it limits our ability to help more people. So what is the best thing about being an independent broker? It's not all bad.
No, it's not. I love it. I wouldn't be doing it this long if I didn't absolutely love it. Again, I'll go back to, I like to change people's lives. And for me, it's like a drug when an agent comes to me and says, I've got this problem and I can't fix it. And I can come up with a solution that they fix it. That to me makes all of it worth it. And the fact that I only have to answer to the state of Florida. I like that.
That's not
I
bad.
like people telling me what to do.
I got the feeling.
Yeah.
What's the goal for 2023?
Ooh, I have big goals. I want to
That's the only kind.
Yeah, I want to increase my own production by 3 times what I'm doing now. And like I said, I want to add on 10 more agents. I want to help them be successful and expand into other areas.
Geographic?
No.
Other stuff. Okay, that sounds good. Just a reminder that there is a kind of your own production and more agents. They're pulling in different directions. Figuring out a good way to make those 2 goals go together is probably one of the big challenges that you'll have this year, but there's no reason you cannot be successful in both.
Yeah.
So what would be the best advice you could give an agent that is thinking about making the move, getting out of her existing broker and just going independent?
Again, it's different if they're just going independent just to put more money in their pocket, or they're going independent because they have a desire to help agents and grow a brokerage with agents working under them. But if you're going to do it to help agents, I think it's really important to do a ton of research and have all your systems set up so that when one person comes in, you're not playing that kind of catch up. You're not learning on the fly, because that'll mess with an agent's head.
Yeah.
If you go down one road and you go, this is the system we're using this week, but next week we're switching over to that. It's bad enough that they don't want to make phone calls. Like, you can't go switching systems up on them.
Yeah. And the best system is the system they will actually use. So making sure you have the right systems in place is absolutely a great advice. Awesome, Tracy. Just being conscious of your time. If agents in Florida want to reach out and join your team, or if other brokers want to reach out and brainstorm and exchange some ideas, how can people find you?
So my website is sellingthesunshine.com, or I'm on Facebook. I have my brokerage page on Facebook, but you can just look me up, Tracy Miller, broker owner, Selling the Sunshine, on Facebook.
Awesome. That sounds great. And we'll put a link in the show notes. Tracy, I want to say thank you for showing up and being on the show. That was really great.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And for you, the listeners, if you want to hear from more experienced and independent brokers, just go onto our website, go on YouTube, go on iTunes. We're everywhere. Give us a review. We'll appreciate that. And until next time, thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. That was awesome. I learned something new. I hope you did too. And if you want to learn more from our expert, please subscribe to the channel and share with your friends.